The current situation of COVID-19 pandemic here in our country, the Philippines. COVID-19 has reached extraordinarily high levels in the Philippines. In early January, the country reported around 1,500 cases per day. Today, that rate is over 10,000, and this resurgence of SARS-CoV-2 is coincident with the observation of a new Philippine variant and first identified in the Central Visayas region. On Saturday, March 13, the Department of Health confirmed the detection of a COVID-19 variant called P3, which was found in local samples in the Philippines. The Department of Health, however, said that it is more accurately described as a variant first reported in the Philippines, not yet a Philippine variant. The World Health Organization discourages use of places to identify variants. The so-called UK and South African variants were tagged so because these variants were first reported in these countries, the DOH said. Scientists have said that viruses naturally mutate because just like humans, they also need to undergo structural changes for them to adapt to their host body. Viruses that would have the same mutations will form a variant. So what do we know so far about this variant? The P.3 is designated as a variant under investigation VUI and not yet identified as a variant of concern VOC by the Department of Health, as the current available data are not enough to conclude that it will have significant implications to public health. Public Health England has classified it as a VUI, which means variant under investigation. To date, there are 104 total infections caused by the P.3 variant in the Philippines, of which majority are detected in Central Visayas. Samples from the Philippines were collected in late January up to February 2, 2021, and the sequencing run was conducted on February 4, 2021 by the PGC. The results reported by PGC indicate that P3 is found to bear multiple mutations of concern in the spike protein region. In simple terms, there were multiple changes detected in the spike region of the P.3 variant, the part of the virus responsible for attaching to human cells, which may possibly have functional significance, as reported by PGC. These mutations or changes detected in P.3 are identified as E484K, 9501Y, and P6H1H. They have been previously associated with known COVID-19 variants linked to possible increased transmissibility and immune escape. There is still no proof based on available data that the P.3 is more infectious than the original version of SARS-CoV-2, but the presence of these three mutations suggests that it is possible. And lastly, there are no reports that the P.3 variant leads to worse symptoms of COVID-19. What does it tell us? Although it is not classified as VOC, PGC recommends strengthening measures to prevent the spread of P.3 to other regions in the Philippines and other countries due to the potential public health implications of these mutations. Regardless if we are situated in Metro Manila or in the provinces, we must not to stop or even minimize practicing the minimum public health standards. With the recent announcement of enhanced community quarantine in Metro Manila, Rizal, Laguna, Cavite, and Bulacan, the DOH urges the public to stay at home unless extremely necessary and remember to avoid the 3 C's: closed spaces, crowded places, and close contact settings. So what is DOST-PCHRD doing? DOST-PCHRD stands for the Department of Science and Technology, Philippine Council for Health Research and Development. They initiated the funding and support for the biosurveillance studies of PGC on COVID-19 in the Philippines through the Archer program. This support started 6 months ago in October 2020 to avoid current government efforts get a more comprehensive picture of the spread of this disease in the country. To date, the biosurveillance service of PGC is also being funded by the Department of Health. DOST-PCHRD supports PGC's recommendation to strengthen measures to prevent the spread of the P.3 variant to other regions and countries. So far, 4, 2, and 1 of each P.3 virus sequences have been submitted by the UK, Australia, Germany, and Japan, respectively, in the Global Initiative on Sharing All Influenza Data database, which has now more than 700,000 SARS-CoV-2 submitted sequences. In the long term, the Council aims to aid the government in determining the dynamics of the spread of the disease throughout its course. This health research effort aims to provide our policymakers guidance in future planning with regard to epidemics in the country. Collected data from this project will be part of a baseline for the country for improving our health disaster responses in the future. Arrival of the first vaccine in the Philippines. The Philippines' first batch of coronavirus vaccines arrived in the country on Sunday, February 28, paving the way for the start of its mass inoculation campaign with shots developed by China's Sinovac Biotech. The delivery of 600,000 doses of Sinovac's CoronaVac, a donation from the Chinese government, was said to be witnessed by the President Rodrigo Duterte, Health Secretary Francisco Duque III, and Vaccine Czar Carlito Galvez Jr. at the Villamor Air Base. The government prioritized frontline workers in health facilities in the vaccination queue, with senior citizens and persons with comorbidities next in line. In March 4, 2021, more than 480,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccines arrived in the Philippines from the COVAX facility, the international partnership established to ensure equitable distribution of COVID-19 vaccines around the world. The Philippines is among the first countries in Southeast Asia to receive vaccines from the COVAX family. COVAX is co-led by Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, the World Health Organization, and the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, working in partnership with UNICEF, as well as the World Bank, civil society organizations, manufacturers, and others. For Galvez and Duterte's government's pandemic task force, a schedule of expected COVID-19 vaccine deliveries is crucial if they are to hold up their promise to achieve herd immunity in the country by the end of 2021. Adding to the urgency of vaccines, The Philippines, one of the countries hardest hit by the pandemic in Southeast Asia, is once again experiencing a deadly spike in infections, with daily cases reported shattering records over a year into the outbreak. Also, Galvez asserted the Philippines would gain access to about 148 million vaccines, including those purchased by the government from vaccine manufacturers and drug firms like AstraZeneca, Novavax, Moderna, Sinovac, Johnson & Johnson, and the Gamaleya Research Institute. Apart from this, the Philippines was also expecting more vaccines from the COVAX Global Facility led by the World Health Organization. April 18, 2021, Philippine health authorities suspended on Thursday the use of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine for people below 60 years of age to investigate reports of blood clots coming from overseas. The temporary suspension came after the European Medicines Agency recommended to include blood clots as a rare side effect of the AstraZeneca vaccine. Food and Drug Administration Chief Rolando Enrique Domingo said in a statement, adding that there were no reports of such adverse side effect in the country. This temporary suspension does not mean that the vaccine is unsafe or ineffective. It just means that we are taking precautionary measures to ensure the safety of every Filipino, Domingo said. April 21, 2021, the Philippines plans to purchase COVID-19 vaccine booster shots from American pharmaceutical company Moderna. The country's vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. said Wednesday, April 21. The Philippine government has closed a deal to purchase at least 20 million doses of Moderna vaccines, 7 million of which was funded by the private sector, and 13 million to be used for the country's public inoculation program. Galvez said that in the tentative schedule of the government, initial doses of Moderna were supposed to arrive here by May. However, recent developments in the US may push back that schedule. Latest COVID cases counts in the Philippines. How many people have tested positive for COVID-19 in the Philippines? How many have recovered? And how many have died? What is President Rodrigo Duterte doing about it? What should the public expect in terms of the economy and the vaccine rollout? 20 hours just passed, 9,661 new COVID cases bring Philippines closer to 1 million total infected. The Philippines continues to keep new COVID-19 cases below 10,000 with 9,661 new COVID-19 cases logged on Saturday, April 24. This, however, still brings the country's total COVID-19 caseload to almost a million. Of the total 989,380,000 cases, 9% or 89,485 are active or currently sick. This is the lowest number of active cases since March 23, when the Philippines recorded 86,200 active cases. This is the sixth successive day infections have remained under 10,000. The Department of Health, DOH, also reported 145 new deaths due to COVID-19, bringing the death toll to 16,674. The DOH also reported a positivity rate of 16.3% out of 38,640 tests in its bulletin. These positive cases are added to the tally of confirmed cases only
only after further validation. This process helps ensure that cases will not be recorded in duplicates and that all test results had been submitted, explained the department. On Friday, the Philippines Food and Drug Administration (FDA) said health authorities recorded 24 fatalities after COVID-19 vaccinations, but most of those who died had pre-existing illnesses. FDA Director General Eric Domingo said that of the 24 deaths recorded after COVID-19 vaccinations in the country, 19 were found to be coincidental as they had pre-existing illnesses. So, this ends my video about the latest counts of COVID-19 cases in the Philippines. Take good care of yourselves and always be safe.
Present-day environmental condition. Our Mother Earth is currently facing a lot of environmental concerns. The environmental problems like global warming, acid rain, air pollution, urban sprawl, waste disposal, ozone layer depletion, water pollution, climate change and many more affect every human, animal, and nation on this planet. Our environment is constantly changing. There is no denying that fact. However, as our environment changes, so does the need to become increasingly aware of the problems that surround it. With a massive influx of natural disasters, warming and cooling periods, different types of weather patterns and much more, people need to be aware of what types of environmental problems our planet is facing. Global warming has become an undisputed fact about our current livelihoods. Our planet is warming up and we are definitely part of the problem. However, this isn't the only environmental problem that we should be concerned about. All across the world, people are facing a wealth of new and challenging environmental problems every day. Some of them are small and only affect a few ecosystems, but others are drastically changing the landscape of what we already know. Our planet is poised on the brink of a severe environmental crisis. Current environmental problems make us vulnerable to disasters and tragedies, now and in the future. We are in a state of planetary emergency, with environmental problems piling up high around us. Unless we address the various issues prudently and seriously, we are surely doomed for disaster. Current environmental problems also require urgent attention. 10 major current environmental problems. Pollution. There are 7 key types of pollution: air, water, soil, noise, radioactive, light and thermal, and these are primary causes that affect our environment in many ways. All these types of pollution are interlinked and influence each other. Therefore, we need to tackle all of them together. Pollution of air, water and soil requires millions of years to recoup. Industry and motor vehicle exhaust are the #1 pollutants. Heavy metals, nitrates and plastic are toxins responsible for pollution, while water pollution is caused by oil spill, acid rain, urban runoff. Air pollution is caused by various gases and toxins released by industries and factories and combustion of fossil fuels. Soil pollution is majorly caused by industrial waste that deprives soil from essential nutrients. Soil degradation. Globally, food security depends on the factor whether or not soils are in good condition to produce crops. Soils get damaged due to many reasons. Such reasons include erosion, overgrazing, overexposure to pollutants, monoculture planting, soil compaction, land use conversion, and many more. Nowadays, a wide range of techniques of soil conservation and restoration exist, from no-till agriculture to crop rotation to water retention through terrace building. Global warming. Climate changes like global warming are the result of human practices like the emission of greenhouse gases. Global warming leads to rising temperatures of the oceans and the Earth's surface, causing natural disasters that include flooding, melting of polar ice caps, rise in sea levels, and also unnatural patterns of precipitation such as flash floods, hurricanes, wildfires, drought, excessive snow or desertification. Overpopulation. The population of the planet is reaching unsustainable levels as it faces a shortage of resources like water, fuel, and food. Population explosion in less developed and developing countries is straining the already scarce resources. Intensive agriculture practice to produce food damages the environment through the use of chemical fertilizer, pesticides, and insecticides. Overpopulation is also one of the crucial current environmental problems. Natural resource depletion. Another crucial current environmental problem is the depletion of natural resources. We, humans, use so many natural resources that it would need almost 1.5 Earths to cover all our needs. Over time, natural resource depletion will lead to an energy crisis. The chemicals emitted from many natural resources contribute to climate change. Fossil fuel consumption results in the emission of greenhouse gases, which is primarily responsible for global warming and climate change. Globally, people are making efforts to shift to renewable sources of energy like solar, wind, biogas, and geothermal energy, generating unsustainable waste. The huge production of waste due to our hyperconsumption is a major threat to the environment. Waste disposal. The overconsumption of resources and the creation of plastics are creating a global crisis of waste disposal. Deforestation. Our forests are natural sinks of carbon dioxide and produce fresh oxygen, as well as helps in regulating temperature and rainfall. Loss of biodiversity. Human activity is leading to the extinction of species and habitats and loss of biodiversity. Ecosystems, which took millions of years to perfect, are in danger when any species population is decimating. Balance of natural processes like pollination is crucial to the survival of the ecosystem, and human activity threatens the same. Another example is the destruction of coral reefs in the various oceans, which support the rich marine life. Climate change. Climate change is yet another environmental problem that has surfaced in the last couple of decades. It occurs due to the rise in global warming, which happens due to the increase in temperature of the atmosphere by burning fossil fuels and the release of harmful gases by industries. Climate change has various harmful effects but not limited to the melting of polar ice, change in seasons, occurrence of new diseases, frequent occurrence of floods, and change in overall weather scenario. As we all know, the Earth has gone through warm and cool phases in the past, and long before humans were around. By raising awareness in your local community and within your families about these issues, you can help contribute to a more environmentally conscious and friendly place for you and your future generations to live. Experiences and learnings during pandemic. The current state gave me time to reflect on troubling matters. COVID-19 has impacted millions of Filipino who have been out of work for weeks, thus creating a financial burden. When schools began to close and students had to leave their on-campus housing, I was not aware of my privilege during these times until I started reading more articles about how millions of people cannot afford to buy foods. Rather than feel guilty and be passive about it, I chose to put my privilege into a sense of purpose, donating to nonprofits helping those affected by COVID-19, continuing to support local businesses, and supporting businesses who are donating profits to those affected by COVID-19. During this revolution, I have papers to write and grades to worry about. As I'm in the midst of finals, this journey has driven me to educate myself more about the social inequalities and injustices that people face and to focus on what I can do for those around me.
Well, this pandemic has completely brought us into a prison life during lockdown. There are many negative effects upon our lives, upon our family, upon our economy, and most especially upon our family. Many people have suffered from anxiety, stress, and become helpless and hopeless. However, we should not step on these negative sides of pandemic. Let us also turn our heads on the positive side of it, because there are lots such as it teaches us to become responsible in taking good care of our health. Although during online classes are extremely difficult and hard to catch up on the discussed lessons, still it helps us to become independent. Indeed, it is hard to study by yourself with the topics that are new to you, but we can still learn from it even if it's late. It also taught us to value our family. It made me realize that spending time with our family builds a strong and great relationship with them. It also molds our faith with God. It goes deeper, making our spiritual life on fire. So, pandemic is just a challenge that we need to overcome.
So, to be honest, I found it difficult to adjust, as well as my family, of course, in our situation, which is the pandemic because of the COVID-19. And it's been a year that we're still fighting with that virus. So in the year that have passed, the only term that I honestly learned and applied to my daily life is the word value. So I learned to value every people, every things, my surroundings or my environment, and even the animals around me. So this pandemic also taught me that life is too short, and even though it is too short, we should live it to the fullest. I also value the concept of love, care, and patience to myself and others. And most importantly, my faith has been strengthened, and I believe that this is only a challenge from Him. And God will never give us a problem or a challenge that we cannot solve. So just be good and believe that for with Him, nothing is impossible.
The summary of our session 10, Pandemic Taught Us Humans, talks about the current situation with COVID-19 pandemic, the present-day environmental condition, and the learnings and experiences of various individuals.
As is stated by Krishna L., a student at King's College London, many of us have been using this time to do things that we generally wouldn't. Things we'd normally shun with an excuse of not having enough time. But now, time really does feel like an absurd concept, doesn't it? The truth is, it was never really about time. It was about prioritizing. In a world where instant gratification is the norm and everything is at our fingertips, the virtue of patience seems long lost. We're bombarded with content on social media and streaming platforms and are constantly stimulated by text messages. Somewhere along the way, we've lost our ability to sit still and appreciate what is rather than what isn't. My observation might seem a little harsh, but it's reflected in everything we do. From that summer body you've always longed for, the language you want to be fluent in. We want it all in a moment. We don't want to wait because waiting is boring. More importantly, waiting is hard. So what can we take away from these hard times? Despite all that has gone on, there have been some positives to the world coming to a stop. It's forced us to take a step back, think, understand, and appreciate what it means to live and not survive. To appreciate what it means to live and not just survive. And that's something I'm going to try to hold onto for a long time to come. Based on what the students shared, it is only crucial for us to prioritize and learn the importance of time. Like what I've said on the previous videos, life is too short. We should live in a way that will make us happy and contented, as well as the people that surrounds us. We hope that all throughout the sessions you've watched, you gain something new information to us that will help you in your daily life.
So this is the group 4 of the subject NSTP saying, stay healthy and safe, and may God bless us all. Adios!